Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Bearded Ladies. I have M here with me, and I'm V, of
Hello, hello.
course. So today we're going to be talking about legacy, and basically, this is a topic that V, chose. It's just something that's been on my mind a lot, like what your life legacy is going to be. So I figure I kind of share to you my thoughts on legacy, and M, of course, will jump in intermittently as we go along. But this is just my personal take. I wouldn't say that I used a lot of research for this one. This is kind of just based off of my heart strings, if you will. But yeah, otherwise, I think I'll just jump right in and we'll have the video started right about now. So, what is it that I mean by legacy? Um, to me, it means lots of things, but I wrote down that it is a generational wealth mentally, financially, emotionally, and spiritually. And it is all passed down from the likes of usually one couple's hard work. We call these people the patriarch and the matriarch of the family. So that is basically what legacy means to me. Em, did you have an idea of what legacy means to you or anything like that?
Yeah, I agree mostly with what you're talking about. I said that I agree mostly with you on that legacy has to do with the things that you had mentioned, but I would also add that it is part of knowledge as well, like passing down one's knowledge
Mm-hmm.
to generations. Hi.
Yeah, no, it's perfect you say that because that's actually um going to be filtered into this next section that I have on here. So my question was, why is it that legacy is important? And
Mm-hmm.
I believe that it's important because future generations benefit from the riches of all types that are passed down. So as I was saying before, wealth cannot just mean financially, but it's also spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. I guess mentally would be knowledge in this case. Um,
Mm-hmm.
there is a quote in the Bible, and it's not the full quote, so feel free to look it up if you want to, but there is one part that a lot of people like to translate and interpret, and it's from Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So just reading that, I interpret it as wisdom comes with riches, and knowledge is love. So
Mm-hmm.
if you ever want to know why a legacy is important, you want to research that on your own time. And you also want to go towards it. So go towards your legacy, whatever you believe that is. You don't want your future generations. Oh, that sounded weird. I almost sound like a Jamaican for a second. You don't want your future generations to die for a lack of knowledge. So, to the best of your ability, you want to be passing these riches down to your people. So that is why I believe that legacy is important. Um, and did you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is gonna kind of tie back to like my focus on knowledge, but for example, living here in Japan, I've kind of had to like start over
Mm-hmm.
in like figuring out even the simplest of things and how to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And it really focuses in on that having people on your side or having people within your circle that has already experienced the things that you're experiencing and can like give you pointers to progress faster
Mm-hmm.
than what you would have been able to do by yourself, I think is part of that. You know, I think a lot of times when we are getting knowledge from our families, sometimes we, how can I say, think that either it is outdated or unnecessary, but then later on in life when we're actually living as
Mm-hmm.
an adult, we find out like, oh wait, no, that information was useful.
Mm-hmm.
I think appreciating what has come before us helps us build on our careers, on our paths in our life way faster.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I like that. I've always been a proponent for knowledge from all different sources and all places and people and things. Because, like you said, you never know. It's not until you start to apply that knowledge that's like,
Mm,
oh, this person was right. Okay, that
mm,
makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
So, for my next bit, I asked the question, how is it that we can cultivate legacy? It's one thing to know what it is, it's one thing to know why it's important, but then the question is, well, how do we go about doing it? And this is not a exhaustive list of everything that you can do. This is just something short and simple that I personally think works for me. So I think
Mhm.
it'll work for some people out there as well. The one thing that I highly suggest is that you learn as much as you can about whatever interests you personally. And the reason I say what interests you personally is because you're going to go through the learning way quicker. You can also learn things that aren't of your personal interest, but I'm not talking about that at this moment. I've noticed for me, for example, for the people who don't know, I do speak German. And had I been running around trying to learn Swedish when my heart is screaming learn German, who knows where I would be today. I probably wouldn't, I'd probably be a little depressed because I don't know the language that I want to speak. So it's because of my love for it that I was able to power through. And I'm at a point where I'm not as good as I used to be, but at the height of my German speaking skills, I was told by many a German how great my German was because I loved it personally. So that's why I say learn as much as you can about whatever interests you personally. This way that the knowledge that you have will be sustainable. There's many different things that you can learn about, such as relationships. I'm a big relationship learner. Like, I have tons of books on it. There's spirituality, for example. Maybe you're into engineering. Maybe you're into teaching English to speakers of other languages. Maybe you're into linguistics. Whatever it is, you want to read books about these things. You can go on websites. There's many different ways you can do that. You can even accrue certain mentors who are living the lifestyle that you want to live. So going back to my German example, I remember I probably looked really stupid, to be quite honest, but I loved it so much. I went and not bought, but I rented out German children's books from the library that I was going to for school.
Mm.
And I found out that my teacher was housing a German student. And I said, please let me set up a meeting with him. And that way he can teach me how to read these books. And so he helped me read books. And I found a mentor to help me with German, and
Mm.
that really helped secure my learning system, as I was saying. So you can find people out there who are into engineering. You can find people who are out there and into spirituality, like I was saying, maybe even linguistic people. Just know where to look. Google is going to be your best friend. But that's just one way to cultivate it. So I wrote, lastly, put in the work to live the life and legacy you want to live. If you know that you want to be an entrepreneur, for example, look up how entrepreneurs operate and move and work. Not all of them are going to suit your fancy and all that, but just find what works best for you, and in no time you'll start cultivating your legacy. All right, anything you wanted to add, Em?
Mm, I think I'll wait till later to add it because I think what I'm thinking about now is probably going to come in later.
Okay. All
Mm.
right, so then here's our last bit. This is going to be a shorter video today, I think. We'll see. We have tons of time for free talk after this. But
Hmm.
so the ending that I have is I titled it So What, because I learned in my English class where I had to write tons of essays. For your conclusion, you want to answer the question, so what? So to answer the question to you, my dear listeners, I wrote that legacy is important for the person you become in the process of living your dream life. So even if
Mm.
you choose to not have biological heirs, so some people choose to not have children, you still have to live your life and you still have to enjoy your life. So, not to mention the greater public at large can be greatly benefited by your contribution to them should you choose to share your gifts, knowledge, or legacy. You'll die a hero in someone's heart, even if it's just your own. And I put down hashtag Kevin Samuels. For those of you who do know what I'm talking about, then well, hopefully you don't speak ill of the dead. But I put him in there. For those of you who don't know, he was a YouTuber who recently passed away at 56 years old, I believe, of a heart attack. He was
Mm.
controversial. He had some very controversial points and controversial views, but he died giving his legacy. I believe personally he died giving the best of his legacy to the best that he could, even if it wasn't to other people's idea of what a legacy should be. He did what was in his heart, and I think he died a little hero in his own way.
Mm.
Alrighty. Anything you want to add?
Well, man, I feel disrespectful adding anything after
Oh,
uh anything after that. But
I
if
know
we're
you.
wanting to continue the conversation,
Mhm.
I guess I have to push forward. Um, I think that brings up. Well, no, actually, the point of bringing up Cam and Samuels, I think, brings up a point that I wanted to, in that we've been focusing on gathering knowledge in order to continue a legacy. But I think a lot of times, especially for myself, there is a fear or a hesitation to pass on your own knowledge. I
Mhm.
think with a lot of people, there's a lot of self-doubt, like whether what you have or what you know is worth contributing.
Mhm.
And hopefully, if you were following V's instructions earlier and you were researching independently,
Mhm.
or you have people in your circles that can have already given you that knowledge, I think that you shouldn't be afraid to pass it on yourself.
Mhm.
I mean, I think for myself in general, I always have this worry in that am I going to be knowledgeable enough to say anything or tell anything to other people? Like who am I to give advice to anybody? And I mean, ultimately, kind of as you said, we can only do the best of our ability to what we have. And in that, we're still passing on a legacy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I think a good example of this is like doctors of the past, maybe even like 10 years ago,
Mhm.
they were still helping people, they were still healing people. Maybe they didn't have all of the information or all of the advanced technology that they have now, but it
Mhm.
doesn't mean that what they did was not worthwhile. I think
Yes.
the same could be said for culture and knowledge and all that we have discussed.
Mhm. All right. So I have a question for you, and
Mm,
I know my answer, which is part of the reason why I want to ask you this is out of curiosity. If
mm,
you were to, let's say, have the legacy of your dreams, and everything you did worked out right, and no fears, no worries, what would you want your legacy to be? Whether that's with or without children, businesses, or just a simple something for a person you meet on the street, what would your legacy be?
mm.
And take your time. I don't want you to feel rushed.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, my legacy will probably have to do with the people in my inner circles. Like if I were able to help those that I care about and their generations after them in some way. I mean, I think I'm still discovering what way that could be.
Hmm.
I feel like that would be a worthwhile legacy for myself.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think I would necessarily need it to be like a personal one where my name is attached to it.
Hmm.
But if the knowledge that I pass down is worthwhile and is used by people or adapted by someone that I
Hmm.
care about, then I think that would be worthwhile.
Interesting.
Mm. Or what was your answer?
Oh, you know me, I'm very fanciful with my imaginations. So for me, I would have 4 kids. Okay, let's start there. I want babies.
Uh-huh.
But in each child, I would like to display the same, how can I put it? The same things that I wish someone taught me how to do. So they may not like it, but I give them up until a certain age that I'll switch up gears and like kind of back up off of them. But up until that time, I would want them to learn how to fight, how to do business, how to dance, and then how to eat and treat their bodies. And so they can choose whatever work they want to do, but I want to teach them the rights of how to eat food. Because,
Mm.
I mean, you can't always blame it on diet, but I personally am not where I want to be, and I wish that I had someone to teach me how to eat properly.
Mm.
So,
I like though how you listed off. Like I felt like I was listening to like general requirements for a school.
yes,
Via gonna start a school, guys. She gonna
exactly. It's going to be for the University of Mama.
yeah. It's only a couple subjects. You're fine, but it's gonna be intense.
It is. It is. Yes.
Uh,
So, I've even like I want them to learn German too, and I want them to be better at it than I am. So I've been Googling like schools that teach German, and they're all in Seattle, and I'm like, dang it, I gotta move to Seattle now, and but it's worth it
why only German? Man.
because I want them to. How can I put this? Spanish is a great language. I love Spanish. I would love to learn it to the level of being conversational, but it's I don't currently have a thing that sticks out for me like German did. I fell in love with a German singer and so I could power through. I don't have that same motivation for Spanish. So although I like the language, it was the first language I knew before German. I really wanted to learn it. I just never followed through with it. And it's a great language for my children to learn if they want to learn it by themselves, but I want my children to learn German. That way it's kind of like one of those languages that no one else can say they know. Like, how often is it that the average American is going to be like, "Oh, that bitch just called me this in German." Like you're not going to get that. I might teach them all the bad words and stuff like that, but if the
Eh,
higher chances are in Spanish, they're like, "Oh, you did not just call me a puta." They can hear that.
but I mean, like, what if
I'm
your
here.
kids have like interest in Italian, or they were like, man, I really want to learn some Mongolian.
I'll
You know
put
what
it
I
like
mean?
this. They can do whatever they want. I think it's either going to be after the age of 8 or after the age of 12. I don't remember which age. You have to look back into but after that age, they can do whatever they want. But I want their foundation to be in English and German.
Uh,
Yeah.
what? Man, but to be honest, if you say like they can do whatever they want, like I realize you're referring to like language, but otherwise it sounds like, no, you're free, children. I have learned you all I can.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm going to do. I want them to have the foundation because
You know,
they end up
kick them out
growing
the
up in,
house. You
yes,
learn
just like a
business, get out of
house.
here.
Just like a house. I want them to have the foundation. That
Mhm.
way they can build the house however they want to build it. It doesn't matter about the house. The foundation has to be set.
Mhm.
I want them to speak to is I wanna have an au pair that speaks German, and I also want to have yearly visits to Germany. Like I want them to practice that German. Like I want them to like actively use it and learn it, regardless of what dad speaks. If dad's not German, he's just gonna have to have a hard time while me and my kids speak German. I know this lady who is from, dang it, what is that place? Latvia. No
Mhm.
one in the U.S. is ever going to speak Latvian. I mean, very few people. She spoke Latvian in Germany to her children. This mom that I know, she's spoken to her children. So now her children can speak some Latvian and German and English. Europeans have so many different languages. I'm jealous, but the dad doesn't speak Latvian, so he was making a comment one day in German. He was just like, "Yeah, they speak about stuff sometimes, and I wonder if they're speaking about me." And I was like, "Probably not, but you
You
never
know.
know.
Mhm.
They could be talking crap like, Dad didn't make breakfast again this morning. I'm hungry." Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, like, whether it's the same language or different languages, people are going to have a chance to, like, talk behind your back. You know what I mean?
yep, Probably
Yeah.
even mine. Then I have to whoop some butt in American English. Pow, pow, pow.
Man. But I feel like we kind of went off topic.
It's okay. I wanted the video to be a little bit longer. I felt bad that they're going to have a short one. But
Mm.
is there
Wait.
anything else you want to add about legacy?
Um.
I know it's a tough thing. Like I felt glad expressing my legacy to the people. You expressed your legacy to the people. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, we could always end it
Yeah.
now, or are we?
I guess. I mean, like, do you think that legacy? How can I say? Do you think legacy has to be a permanent thing or something that can be changed if it's to be still be considered a legacy? Like, for example, if I have learned something or have thought an idea that I'd pass down to my loved ones,
Mhm.
if they were to change it or alter it to suit their needs, would that still be considered a legacy?
I think it would. Um, because it's coming from you. What they choose to do with it is one thing,
Mm-hmm.
but you've done your part as far as giving down what you have to give. My hope would be that what you give is so fruitful that they can change it if they have to, if they
Mm-hmm.
need to. Because what might be good for, as the saying goes, what might be good for the goose is good for the gander. I don't think I used that term correctly, but
It's okay.
I
Mm-hmm.
just realized that as I said it. But I know I would hope for me, for my children, I would hope that they wouldn't change the basics of it, the fundamentals of it. And if they have to, my prayer is that it would work. Because
Mm-hmm.
I believe in my heart of hearts that this is the right way and the only way. But that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that it's the case. I'm just a little nervous and scared because I've never had it work out for me any other way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think to kind of build on that, it is kind of a balancing act, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where like there have been times where I have realized that things that I have gathered from the people around me in one stage of my life considered unhelpful or unhealthy. And when I grew up, some of it was true, but some of it was I realized I didn't fully understand the basis of where it was coming from. So it was only until like once I got older that I would realize the importance of what was given to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it is kind of this balancing act of figuring out what actually is something that I just don't fully understand yet that I will use on later, or things that maybe I realized due to my own experience or the changing of my environment wasn't helpful. I think there is some balancing acts there with legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Definitely.
Ah,
Alrighty, sorry, I'm doing a cat walk.
okay.
Okay.
Well, I think those are my final thoughts.
Alrighty, guys. You
Hmm.
heard us talk and get off track a little bit, which is what we do
Hmm.
sometimes. But we made our way back, and that's all that matters. So
Yes.
that's all for now. We're gonna say goodbye to the people. Goodbye, aliens, humans, whatever is listening to our
Everything in between.
everything in between. All right,
Hmm.
you guys have a good night. Godspeed.
Bye bye.